we're gonna get into like our heroes' headstones because I that's the main thing we want to talk about. But I know you're gonna be mad if I don't mention this, and it actually is pretty cool. You were saying that you do have somewhat of a connection with Kris, and that you guys were both in the Giant Killer documentary.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've been following Kris, and Kris has been one of my heroes for years.
And I ain't no hero. Don't know you. I am
I
so fully. I'm the biggest fully shit more than anybody else, Bobby. Me and you, even more than you, brother. So thank you for saying that. But you don't need to say that to me. I know hero.
No, but he's a man I give a lot of respect to, and who I followed for years. So I worked with a guy named David Yuzuk down in South Florida, Miami-Dade County, and we knew a guy. He was 4'9". If you don't know the story, he was 4'9", 97 pounds. His name was Richard Flaherty. And we just always heard he was a veteran, but he was a homeless gentleman that lived on the streets down there. And he had his issues, but he was never dirty. He was never unkempt or anything like that. Very prideful, small man, but fully proportioned though. And I knew this man for 20 years, and along with David, but it was always a casual, how you doing, that kind of thing. Well, David actually befriended this gentleman, Richard, and we called him Little Richard, and he found out some information about Richard that blew everybody away. To this day, I have so many regrets that I should have done something, helped him out some, but he wouldn't have accepted help to begin with. But Dave really went out of his way to befriend Richard, and lo and behold, not to give anything away, Richard was tragically killed as Dave was filming this documentary.
Well, and we can talk about, because Dave's documentary's out, people see on Netflix and stuff, but it was, from what I understand, because I didn't know Sergeant Flannery. I didn't, and I just was on their documentary because of there's still questions on his death, nefarious questions, being government responsibilities, which hence why I was there, is because of what happened to me. And so when you were there and you're going through it and he died, did David say anything or did you guys think, did something not smell right when it happened, or was it just this homeless guy that died? Because can you talk a little bit about that? I don't think we're gonna give away the documentary by any means, and I think David, I love David, so any promotion to help him out, and we need to get him on the show too. But what did when that happened, when he died, kind of go through it, but then what did you feel like? Because that's the tone I got. It's like, man, there's some nefarious things going on here. Somebody killed him that from the government, or I don't know. What did you think?
Absolutely. This didn't come out in the documentary. I spent about 4 hours with David interviewing for the documentary. Okay. And I believe I'd mentioned this in the documentary. I'd seen Richard about 8-9 days before his passing. And he'd come to the police station, and at the time I'd long hair. I was a sergeant for our undercover unit, and but he met me on the front. He didn't like to talk to many people. He very respectful of the police, but he had his favorites, and he did ask for David, and it wasn't David's. He was off.
Yeah,
he was a light duty at home, I believe. But Richard came to me. He was all beat up. Just tore up, just lumps, and you could see he had gotten in a fight. I said, Richard, what happened to you? And he was like, oh, the government came and they beat me up. I've been doing some stuff for them, and he kept saying about the State Department.
Yeah,
he always mentioned the State Department, and I didn't believe him, and I'm ashamed to say that now. I was like, well, let me know, and I'll. Give us a call. I'll come out there and help you fight them next time. But he never mentioned names. He never mentioned why they'd beat him up. But he wanted to give me some information. And more or less, he wanted to give David some information. But I said I'll pass it on, and I did. Later that day, I was like, "Hey, David, Richard came out here to see you." And a week and a half later, he's passed away, and he had some files with him when he came to the police department. He had this whole file, and he opened it up, and he's like, I have this information here. I didn't take it. I was like, Richard, it's not really what I'm doing right now. And this is a gentleman I knew for 20 years, but I was doing other things, other job in the agency. And I said, I was just, quite frankly, I was too busy, and I thought, he just needs to take his meds, but I think to this day, and it's one of my regrets I have in life, is that I did not pay more attention that day what he had to show. So
Yeah.
And then week and a half, 2 weeks later, he's run down by in weird circumstances, was run down at 4 a.m. and left on the side of the road. But to get back, we didn't know this, and Dave uncovered all this. 4'9". It's like, well, these guys, maybe they're a mechanic. We knew he was a veteran. At the very least, we knew he was a veteran. It's like, oh, maybe he's a mechanic, maybe, paper pusher, something like that. No, I mean, this guy was hardcore. He was, first off, he was the military's smallest person, other than like maybe a drummer boy in the Civil War or something like that. And he was a Green Beret, decorated, Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars, 2 or 3 Purple Hearts, and you name it, this guy had it. And he supervised a platoon of really like tough soldiers. And this was all came out later on, but there's such a so much depth to the story. You got to see. It's called The Giant Killer.
Yeah.
And you see it on Amazon, iTunes, just about everywhere except Netflix, YouTube. But Kris was on.
Yeah, I was on it. Yeah, I was on two. It's on the two. I was on Tubi is where the last place I saw it. It's on a lot of the free streaming stuff, and that's what got me. Is you look at it, and and I don't blame you, man. How do you not, when somebody's coming up, they're homeless? I mean, they're talking about stereotypes. Well, we all do. There's not one person. I don't care how virtuous you are. When a homeless person that obviously has been homeless for a long time comes up to you and starts spewing, "Hey, the government's after me," first thing you go, "Well, come on, dude. Yeah, that's right, man. Or you need to get some help, man." But then after all that covering up, then you're bringing, well, maybe he was telling me something. But when you're going through and you're working law enforcement, and I want to get into that too as well, your law enforcement career, you got other stuff undercover. You've probably heard that from a few other people that were off their meds. And how do you take that seriously and run it down? And but yeah, I think getting David on to cut, because I'd like to talk about that as well. But with your interaction with him, that was a big thing to me, because I still am fascinated by it, and nobody's ever been held accountable, correct, for the death. It's still nothing. Was there any investigation? I know I'll ask David this, but was there anything on his investigation on his death that and people will see it on The Giant Killer too, but just for our listeners here, anything that maybe they won't see on The Giant Killer that you did that you can tell our audience here?
Dave did such a good job by telling everything.
Yeah, he did.
He retired when this came out, and he had nothing to lose. He wasn't going to get in trouble, and he went in with guns blazing. And the officers that he did, the 2 traffic homicide officers that he interviewed, both said, we were told to stand down by the state attorney's office. The person that hit him was a woman who worked in the I think the homicide division for Miami-Dade County, and she had some connections that I'm not quite sure of, but I heard she had some higher connections, some political connections. It left a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and to this day, it's one of the
still
that gets me. Yeah,
it does, and that's the weirdest thing too, is that she's worked in homicide. She was a professional. What the hell is she doing out at 4 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah,
I mean, you think somebody drinking at a party, leaving a bar, leaving a strip club. Okay, they're gonna, but it was shit. What the hell are you doing at 4 a.m.? No alcohol involved, from what I understand, and. Well, I didn't, and that was the weirdest, because I didn't realize that we were, until just a few weeks ago, like, holy shit, yeah, we were on The Giant Killer together.
Yeah.